You are listening to the Red Leaf Retrocast. It's the Modern Gaming Edition, our monthly episode. I hope you enjoy us just talking about the games that have come out over the previous month. And now, on to the show.
Hello and welcome back to the Red Leaf Retrocast, a modern gaming podcast. I'm your host, Jay Silver, and today I'm joined by the other host of the Red Leaf Retrocast, a modern gaming podcast, JD. Shut up.
It's a mouthful, isn't it?
It is.
I just say modern gaming. It's fine.
Modern gaming podcast.
Yeah, I'm here. The mainstay. We're back for another month. It's March, so what does that bring us since we're here now?
So dude, it brings us a bunch of games known as Anthem, Metro Exodus, Crackdown 3, Jump Force, Trials Rising, Wargroove, and Apex Legends.
Yeah, a couple of those kind of came out of nowhere, and the Pokemon Direct happened, so we'll get there in a second. And we've both been on a Yakuza kick.
Yeah,
lately.
Yakuza
Especially
is a
you.
fantastic franchise. I have finished Yakuza 6, Kiwami, and Yakuza Kiwami 2 in the last month.
Jesus Christ, and I'm just starting Yakuza 0 officially.
Well, I finished Yakuza 0, and then I took a break before I finished Yakuza Kiwami, but I don't know, I just went into Yakuza kick, I guess.
And there's good reason for it. It's if you're an anime fan, it's just a franchise that's super fun to get into, really goofy at times with all the mini games.
It's a really good crime drama as well.
And the story is very intricate, in depth. I've played 7 chapters, so I'm about halfway through Yakuza 0 now.
I think there's 18 chapters in the first one,
Yeah.
but sure.
I thought there was 16, but anyways.
Who are you enjoying more out of Kiryu or Majima?
Oh, Majima has so much more personality.
I freaking love Majima,
in it
man.
all.
I explained to you that he breaks. I'm not going to explain how, but when he breaks, man, he becomes a completely different person.
I can totally see it happening. So the way Yakuza 0 works, and I've spoken about Yakuza in the past on this very podcast, I believe, when Yakuza 6 came out. And I believe I said it's another Yakuza game, so if you like Yakuza, you'll like Yakuza 6 kind of deal.
Yeah.
And I only played a couple hours, which means you barely play really any of it, but you know what you're getting at the end of the day.
Yeah, Yakuza 6, The Song of Life, it does a good job wrapping up Kiryu's story. If they're actually going to end it, because I've got that other spin-off-y sort of Yakuza main series game coming out, hopefully later on this year. If not, then hopefully we get the updated version of 3, 4, and 5.
Judgment in 3 should be 2018 bound.
Fingers
or 2019
crossed,
bound.
because I need more Yakuza in my life.
Yeah. So the way the stories work is every 2 chapters you switch between a second character in Yakuza 0. You start out with Kiryu and he's framed for murder, and he's part of the Yakuza, so then he's ex facto kind of kicked out
He
due to
he
circumstances.
walks out under his own... Yeah, he decides to leave.
And then 2 chapters later, you're introduced to a new character called Majima, and he's in Osaka, I believe, while Kiryu's in Tokyo. Or a section of they're in sectors of those cities.
I think that's correct. Mr. Gordo Majima. And he is the leader of the Grande Cabaret Club.
Grand Cabaret, yeah. It's very cool. It's a very eccentric introduction to his character.
Have you played around with the cabaret minigame?
There's a cabaret minigame?
Yeah, you can run the club and make a crap ton of money.
That must be in a chapter I'm about to play.
No, you can do it from the start. Once you do his
Can you?
introduction thing, you can just do it. You just go upstairs or something. There's a whole running the cabaret thing, and if you actually beat the mini story to do with that, you unlock a 4th fighting style for Majima.
Oh, interesting.
Which is like
kind
his
of like
ultimate.
his breakdance.
Yeah, like no, yeah, like kind of like he's got his breakdance, his striker, baseball bat one, and his other one. But this fourth one, I don't remember what it's called, but it's like his ultimate fight one. Like Kiryu's got one for the real estate. If you beat that, he gets his dragon fight style.
Yeah, so essentially you're playing out this very drawn out crime drama series, and there's just funky little fight sequences, switching between 3 styles, and you more or less just mash the squared triangle button to get by. There's some dodging involved.
What style are you using as the 2 players? Because I found myself playing the 2 of them completely differently.
I really like the fast styles from them both, but the weapon one is kind of like a go-to in tougher situations. So it does more damage.
Oh, the base style is Kiryu.
Yeah.
With Kiryu, I use the dash fight style, like the really quick one. And with Majima, for whatever reason, I thought that it best suited him with the baseball bat.
Yeah, it just does more damage.
Really a fight style too. Like Majima's like a lot of his things, like there are very, 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 very quick to do with like his hitboxes and all that sort of thing. Because like he just attacks and attacks and attacks and attacks, which lives up to his nickname of being the Mad Dog.
Yeah, well, I mean, shit, he was... so, the origin story of Majima was he was kicked out of his Yakuza group.
Correct.
For going against Yakuza orders, something you don't do. But the orders were basically, we want you to do a hit on these guys, you and your blood brother. And then at the last second they go, nah, we changed our mind, something happened. Well, what about my blood brother? Too bad, right? And he goes, well, I gotta go save him. And they go, well, you're going against orders, we're gonna fuck you over. Not really clear at this point in the story what the motivation was, because he didn't really do anything totally wrong or go totally against orders. He just said he was gonna do it. He didn't actually go anywhere, and they just put him in a hole and tortured him for a year, and he survived. So now he's essentially, his punishment is to run this club, get a bunch of money, and he's essentially a prisoner within the city. Like, people are always watching him, on the lookout. It's really cool. Like, his character and his story is just so much more interesting to me over Kiryu. Kiryu has, like, the backstory of the threads all coming together kind of deal, which is fun.
But with all of this being said, though, it's interesting, like, throughout the Yakuza games that I've played, like, how much Zero ties into everything else. Like, Zero and Kiwami, with Kiwami being a remake of 1, like, if you don't play Zero before...
It's a remaster.
Yeah. Like, you're not gonna realize how much of an importance, like, Nishikiyama is. Or, like, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, you can kind of see threads... and this is the other reason why I want to do it. You were playing a lot of Yakuza, you were on a kick, and I go, you know what? Yakuza series, I have 3 fucking games of these things. I have 5 on my PS3.
And I sent you money to buy one, you already had the freaking game.
Yeah, and I have 0 and 1. I've just never played more than 2 hours of any of them, because that's my rule, Jay. My rule is anytime I get a new game, I play at least the first couple hours, and... that way I can at least say I played it, I know what's going on, and, eventually I'll get back to it, or exo facto, do I ever kind of situation. So the Yakuza series is definitely one of those that I've wanted to just hit up in my free time and really tackle at it, and I'm glad I'm doing it now, because Yakuza 0 is a ton of fun. It's very relaxing a lot of the times, because the cutscenes through this crime drama last quite a while.
I'm gonna go take a piss. Like, you really could, man. If you gotta make a sandwich and come back if you're not invested in the story.
Oh yeah, I mean you could, yeah. Like during that time, you absolutely could.
Indeed.
So.
Indeed. But yeah, like, no, everything in there is, like, really good. Like, the attention to detail is really good. Just the whole story, the gameplay, everything's smooth. It's just a really good game franchise.
And what I also like about it is the eccentric mini games and how they all kind of play a small role in the series, making it it's self-aware of how goofy it all is.
How much bowling have you played?
I'm not telling. It's a secret. All I know is the as soon as I found out the bowling chick goes, I have I have a fetish for good bowling form, and I'm like, yeah,
She's
okay.
not a very good bowler, though.
No, she sucks ass.
Indeed, she does. But have you played the slot car racing? That's actually a lot of fun.
Dude, all the mini games are super fun. Whether it's baseball, even the financial management of sectors of the city that you earn money doing is fairly interesting.
Have you played the phone sex mini game?
I played the 5th.
I'm gonna take it that you weren't very good at it.
Look, the only reason why I'm on chapter 7 right now is because all the mini games keep distracting me, and even some of the side stories, like like how to train your dominatrix.
You played the 5th again?
I played the 5th.
Radio. That was actually a very funny mini game. Telling her what to say.
It was funny, yeah.
It was good.
There's like children in the playground looking at you, just like, who's this lady and what are you guys talking about?
Why is she
embarrassed?
wearing very skin tight leather and chains?
That's what dominatrix.
No, that's what the kids were thinking. I know why she was doing it.
Oh, yeah,
also, a game with kids in it, man. Like, you don't see kids in open world games.
Yeah, you don't. Not really. Not often. City's very lively. You don't see a lot of repeated character models all the time. You know, they do come up, but it's not as egregious as, say, We Happy Few was, which came out last year. The one thing I noticed is it's not as high budgetary as you might think it is. You know? But it does a good job of using its sources and its budget to its full effect.
Yeah, no, I can.
That's something. Yeah, that's something Yakuza I give a lot of props to.
So you're a Sega fan. I'm guessing you've hung out in the arcades a bit.
I played a lot of Space Harrier in that arcade.
How much Outrun have you played? Because I'm going to give you a hint here and say that you need to get good at that game before you challenge one of the billionaires.
Oh, interesting. Well, I've beaten Outrun on my Master System, so...
But have you beaten it in Yakuza 0?
I haven't.
I
guess that's the arcade I haven't been to in Majima's Town.
No, it's in Kiryu's Town.
Really? I only saw Space Harrier machines.
No, there's a Outrun one in one of the arcades, because it's tied into the, like, real estate sub-story.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe it's an arcade I haven't unlocked yet?
No. I think it's the big one, like the big one in the center of town.
I went to that one. I must have just not seen it.
Yeah.
So, Yakuza 0 is super fun. I really like the threads being like it's a good show don't tell story as well of everything that's happening. Like Majima has, in order to get back into his Yakuza, he's under the guidance of Sagawa. He's one of the main Yakuza guys, and he tells him to go murder this person named Makiyama, I believe. I believe that's the name.
The massage parlor, right?
Yes, in the massage parlor.
Yes.
And finds out it's actually not the person you originally think it is, and then he has kind of his own crisis of what got him into this mess, and you can definitely see the threads that this person is tied to Kiryu's story, and that's how these two characters are gonna clash.
Have you had the revelation as to how?
I think the threads are in front of my face where I've put it together, yes.
What do you think? I'm not going to say whether you're right or wrong. I'm just going to say interesting and move on.
How this character is tied into Kiryu in his situation?
Yeah.
The empty lot.
No. Like, yeah, obviously that's the empty lot, but, like, why?
Because the whole story is revolving around the empty lot. Why?
Okay, you've missed a big thing, but I'm just going to move on.
Well, anyways. So Yakuza 0 is super fun. I'm just about at the halfway point, and you bet your ass I'm definitely finishing the game going forward.
Booyah.
So.
I'll just like to say
get to the other ones in time.
I'd just like to say that Kiwami 2, Kiwami, and Yakuza 6 are also very fun.
Oh, they're all very good. They're all very good games.
Dude, you can go fishing in them. Like, if you like fishing, you play Yakuza and go fishing. You can go spearfishing.
I really laughed at the fishing scene because I was like, oh, I'm gonna catch like a carp or a bass or something, and then he like pulls out a briefcase instead full of like $100,000. I'm like,
that was really good. You can go spearfishing in Yakuza 6, man.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's like an on-rail shooter minigame. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Okay. We got the Pokemon Direct happened. Nintendo Direct happened. We covered that. It was a big topic on the Retro Game Podcast Disney episode, I believe.
Ooh.
So go listen to that.
I saw some of those games you guys covered. I'm pretty sure 2 of those had Game Boy ports.
They probably did. I know we talked about a couple of the Game Boy ones because that was one of the ones we played. But anyways, the Pokemon Direct came out shortly after. And it was revealed a new streamlined game for the Switch coming out Christmas time, we can definitely assume. Or at least...
September, October, November sort of thing.
October, November, December is the timeline. Pokemon Sword and Shield's coming to the Switch.
It's taking place in the UK, mate.
I guess, yeah. It gives the appearance of Britain, kind of deal. It's a new region called Galar.
Did you get the whole Gallant thing and start thinking of the freaking crappy mid-card faction from NXT UK? Because I did. It's the first thing that popped in my head.
Now it does.
Yeah, see, now that I've said it, you're just going to be like, damn it, this is a really bad region name.
Yeah. I'm really not a fan of a lot of the names and the design of this game, and we'll get to that in a second. There's 3 new starter Pokemon, as they do. A grass monkey named Grookey, so grass monkey. A fire bunny named Score Bunny, and a sad water lizard named Sobble.
Dude, Team Sobble, let's do it.
Probably not wrong on that, because I'm usually a grass guy, but I'm definitely not totally feeling Grookey at all.
It's because there's not a freaking monkey. Grass monkeys are bad. Look at freaking Pansear. No, Sage. Whichever freaking Pan it is from Gen 8. No, Gen 5. Damn it.
So it's going to be directed by Omori, who did Sun and Moon, and did the remake of Ruby? Or the remaster of Ruby?
I really liked Alpha Ruby and Alpha Sapphire and Omega Ruby.
I was a fan of that as well. Sun and Moon was it passed.
A game full of cutscenes that had too many cutscenes.
It had a lot of good new ideas. So I want to hear what your thoughts are over these 2 new streamlined games, and maybe the positives and negatives to what you saw.
First of all, man,
what you are seeing.
Sun and Moon and Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon. Games had way too many cutscenes for me. I didn't finish Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. They pissed me off. I'm not going to play a Pokemon game and sit there and have to deal with cutscenes, because I don't play Pokemon for cutscenes or the story. I play Pokemon to make animals fight each other. Second of all... So
you're afraid that this streamlined one is going to be a lot more of that?
No.
More of the same?
Second of all, I'm going to play this game. I'm a huge Pokemon fan. Love the franchise. Have ever since Red, Blue, Green, Yellow, whatever you want to call the first generation of games, depending on where you're from. Dude, Team Shield, don't know what you're on.
It's not Shield, that's for sure. It's Sword.
Well, I'm just going to defend
shields
against
are lame.
Listen, right? Listen, you're going to try to attack me with a sword. I'm going to block, and then I'm going to hit you in the face with a shield after your sword is broken. You don't understand, man. Like, I'm a sword collector. I have a lot of swords. But Shield just looks better in my opinion because every other person's gonna go after the sword.
Doesn't really matter in the end, though. Like
not really. You're just gonna get a couple like exclusives here and there, and I'm sure you can just trade them off anywhere with the GTS and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not huge on the design of Scorbunny and Grookey, and that's mainly the reason I'm gonna go with Sobble.
Okay.
What are your problems? Do you agree with me or disagree with me? Because if you look at Scorbunny and Grookey, they look a little bit too generic.
I thought all 3 of them looked really generic. They all look the same, and that has to be by design. It has to be. They did that on purpose. Why all 3 of them look so similar. I mean, there's enough of them. I would like I would have rather you get to kind of choose between three. Well, maybe no.
Is the problem...
It's just such a main...
Go ahead.
I'm kind of stuck between thoughts. Go ahead.
Is the problem here, like, that maybe because of the things that they've set up with the original games and the sequels, that they're stuck doing grass, fire, and water, and they're kind of running out of ideas to use in those particular starters?
I think they're just so set in a formula that they're afraid to try something truly new. Because that's what I liked about Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, was this sense of they're doing something new here. Some things will hit and miss. In your case, the cutscenes was not a positive. I think I would prefer them to... Why does it have to be water, grass, fire every time? You know, why can't it just be, any of those other elements that we have to choose from? Ghost, metal, whatever.
It's because, like...
Or randomize it.
Well, yeah, I get that, but it's also, I guess, because the 3 starters make a perfect harmony with the effectiveness and resistances. There's not really any other types you can do that with. It's really just fire, water, and grass.
Well, I get it, the rock, paper, scissors of it all, but all you have to do is randomize it and have your rival pick the opposite. He doesn't have to pick from those 3. He can just go to the machine and go, well, I picked this one over here, haha, and it's the opposite of you. There you go. Because you know there's going to be a rival just for that purpose.
Yeah.
I think the thing I'm most afraid for this new Pokemon game, I'm very excited for it. The graphics look very disappointing. It looks like a 3DS port to me.
Look,
I figured there'd be more effort.
I get that, but you can't really make Pokemon look all that advanced, otherwise it kind of loses its charm.
I suppose you're right. I can agree with that statement. It seems really lowball and lacking. But the thing I'm definitely most worried about is the open world traversing, because it's now on a non-handheld per se. The world appeared really big in the trailer. How much is that going to tax the player? Take Breath of the Wild. A lot of that was a lot of empty space, right? But
I'm guessing
somehow they were able to capture it.
Grass and trainers. I doubt that that's going to take up much memory on the card.
Well, I was thinking about it, and the way Sun and Moon did it was because they could have expanded it much more than what it was. They just limited how far you travel in between the towns. It gave you the illusion that it was a much bigger world, but it didn't take very long to get from point A to point B. And that, if they're able to translate that the same way into Sword and Shield, then worry gone. But what if they don't? Because that's what was appearing to me in the trailer.
Another thing that bothered me about Sun and Moon, and I don't know whether you're on the same boat as me here, but the traveling between islands thing to get to different routes and that sort of stuff, the islands aren't all that big, and the world didn't feel as connected as the other games do. Whereas this game, seeing as though it's its whole region and not just a bunch of different islands to go, hey, let's go here, let's go here, let's go here on a crappy boat. I'm hoping it feels bigger than those other games.
So you do want a bigger one. I'm just wondering how that traverse is going to work out.
I don't know. Do you think we're going to get HMs back?
Probably not. I think it'll just be tied into a Pokemon special ability that you add.
So like the Pokemon rides and stuff like that in Sun and Moon.
Yeah. And yeah. I gotta agree with that to an extent, because it's taking up a move slot when you only have 4.
Yeah, but it also added to the whole puzzle thing. Is what you're gonna make into this particular Pokemon to do this particular thing.
A switch
as long
army
as they don't
Pokemon.
go over the top like not Sun and Moon, Dominant Pearl did with Rock Climb, all those other crappy ones they added for no reason, like Defog. You should be fine. If they just keep the original 6 or 5 or whatever that they had from Gen 2, Gen 1, you'll be fine.
Yeah, Okay. Well, we're excited. We're definitely going to be getting it.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that's clear.
One last thing here.
Just have our worries.
The fire rabbit adds perfectly to the theory about all the fire starters being Chinese zodiac.
Oh.
So if this is all true, we only have 4 left to do, which includes a fire horse and a fire snake.
Oh. Ooh, a fire snake. I'd be down with that.
So would I. Gen 9, let's get a fire snake.
This game's gonna make a buttload of money.
Yeah, regardless.
Hello, Kitty,
like,
as you
Pokemon.
jump onto the mic table. What's going on?
Like, dude, people are gonna say the name Pokemon and be like, it's Pokemon, I'm buying Pokemon.
Kitty, get off the mic table. You're causing trouble. There he goes.
I'm guessing he's vicious tonight and not justice.
Oh, he is trouble. Alrighty. Well, with that, let's get on to the games from February. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to go through. Whew, okay.
What would you like to start out, dude?
Let's plow through it as I play a drop. Have you ever listened to a podcast and been upset over the host's opinions on the subject matter that they are talking about? Well, we here at the Red Leaf Retrocast have a solution.
In the Corellia mission, when you have to use the harpoon and tow cable to trip over the AT-AT, a la Empire Strikes Back. Yes, I'm pronouncing it AT-AT, bite me.
Don't at me, bro.
I had been able...
Don't at
How about
you.
How about you come at me?
I will add at you.
I'll fuck your shit up.
Oh,
No one's gonna come on you, Colin.
it's
Jeez.
gross.
This is awful.
Oh boy. But yeah, aside from that, it's a really good game. I give it a pass.
Can the title of this
I
episode,
pass it as well.
Can the title of this episode be "Don't add at me, bro"?
Don't at me.
Oh boy.
Alright. Maybe that wasn't the best example. You can find the Red Leaf Retrocast on all your favorite social medias, such as Twitter and Instagram, Red Leaf Retrocast, and YouTube, and all your favorite podcasting outlets. And now, back to the show. Okay. So, Jay, why don't we just start off with the one that everyone is playing, as Kitty's back on the mic table, even after the drop break. How dare you? Come here, Kitty. Okay, got him. Everyone's playing Apex Legends,
Dude,
and you got to dabble.
I got to dabble. We were the second best team at approximately 12:30 Australia time.
Yeah. Off a dumb choice we both made off the jump. So Apex Legends is a 3-team battle royal from the makers of Titanfall, and published by EA, and on the record that EA had nothing to do with the game. So that makes sense why the game is very solid.
Wait, why is it an EA game if it's got nothing to do with EA?
So EA usually sticks their grubby hands into projects of their own, like Star Wars and anything. Anthem, which we'll talk about soon. This was, I guess, a build for Titanfall 3, and they came up with this Battle Royale game, so EA, they were very hands-off with it. It was all the developer, and that's what led to Apex Legends. So it is a Battle Royale, so you're in a group of 3, you drop from a ship of some kind, you land, collect various weapons, shields, helmets,
Guns,
and
sort of thing.
Guns, yeah, ammo accordingly, and you eliminate the other players that you eventually see.
Get in the circle, JD.
Get in the circle, because after, I think, 2 minutes, the circle encloses, or 3 minutes, the circle encloses and gets you to converse on each other. So, Battle Royale. What's different about this one is a few other little knickknacks that they add in. If your teammate dies, you can go pick up where like a badge where they died, and you can revive them. If they're downed, you can heal them. And there's a power slide. You have a run and you press circle, and you do a nice little, power knee slide.
It adds momentum whilst traveling down hills.
It does add momentum. You have various characters. They're, very Overwatchy about it all, and each character has a 2 special techniques. They have their regular special technique where, one character can warp really quick out of to and from an area. One a robot has a grappling hook.
I like the robot.
Goes things like that, and you press the 2 upper bumpers or L1 R1, and that gets you a drop. So that's your other special little technique, and the drop gives you various ammo, and that's the crux of the game. But why is it good, Jay? I want to hear your experience with it.
Well, I've played 3 rounds of it, which was with you, and like I said, second best team.
Oh yeah, on our 3rd try, that was really.
This
funny.
is the first battle royale game that I've ever played. I had no interest in playing Overwatch, had no interest in playing Fortnite, had no interest in it. However, I was playing this game, I can see why people get sucked into it, because, like, even though it's, as a concept, a very simple concept, everything in it just meshes together so well to make the game enjoyable.
It's really fun. The balance between all the guns and everything feels right. What I don't like about Battle Royale games in general is seemingly 95% of the time you're running around a map doing nothing. Just searching and getting to the circle, right? Until you eventually find somebody.
Yeah, well...
Or see someone off in the distance, or what have you.
And then you avoid them at all costs, because they're on level 37 and we're on level 2.
Yeah, that's one strategy. Sometimes it's the best one to run away, which in this one I'm finding just avoiding conflict in general is the best idea, but then that's boring, right?
Well, I mean, it clearly has no reasons to why we're the second best team. It's because we're really good at the game and do some accurate shots.
That's what it is. Yeah. But nevertheless, despite my non-interest in Battle Royale games, just like you, Jay, just never really... I mean, I've played Fortnite, I've played Blackout mode, and I played a little bit of PUBG, that broken piece of shit mess. Those never appealed to me, and I do find myself, popping in a game of Apex Legends and having fun with it just for a few rounds, and then I'm good.
I'm just saying, like, if Activision wanted to make a crap ton of money, they should just release freaking Blackout as its own thing.
Well, I'm sure they tried.
I'm sure
it'll be backlash about
next year. And whenever one moves off from Black Ops, they'll be like, "Hey, Blackout's now available, guys."
Yeah, right. One thing I will have to mention is there are loot boxes in this game because it's free to play. You can download it, free to go. After you complete a round, you get little experience depending on be it kills or placement out of the teams. You get experience, and when you level up, you get a loot box. And in this loot box, you get you can get a stat moniker for a character. You can get cosmetics for the character, which is very rare, and gun cosmetics. And then there's in-game currency that you earn, but also that currency you can buy. However, one egregious error that I do have an issue with Apex Legends is the fact that you can't use the in-game currency to buy a loot box that you earn. You can't do that. So
yeah, no, I can get behind that.
Yeah, essentially, your in-game currency only goes towards character skins, and you need a lot. Do you get it at a fair pace?
Not really.
To some extent, I guess. I mean, if you're addicted to the game, you'll get it eventually, but just from a casual player like me in this, where I just throw on a game or two, every few days, I'm not getting there at a good pace, right? So it really puts you in a different mindset for it all. Do you see yourself going back to this game?
Maybe if people I know are playing it, but not by myself.
Not by yourself. I've heard that one thing holding this game back is the fact that if you play with a bunch of randoms online, that it just doesn't work out. You don't play as a team together. You don't really have as much fun. So there's talk I've seen from communities that people want singles. Like a 50-person single royal or doubles or what have you. Just make it smaller, basically. Get rid of the 3. But I think that would actually hinder the game and make
it's a nice little gimmick. Like, the people that want to play team-based things can play this, and the people that want to play singles can go play Fortnite.
Yeah, and if you take away this 3-person team aspect, I mean, I could see 5-person teams or something like that happening.
I don't have 5 friends, I'm screwed.
Well, in that case, you play, you fill in the gap with the random, like you and I did. We filled in the 3rd person. We were just like, follow him. He's really good.
He's on level 23. We're on level 8 and 2.
Yeah, I mean, I've played probably about 50 games, and I'm only level 9, so I did level up, but I'm not really I'm not really getting the levels at a pretty high clip, or a high enough clip, so...
Yeah, but it's free. Like, for a free-to-play game, it's decent enough.
It's free, and at the end of the day, like, that price tag you can't beat. I do think the not being able to use in-game currency to buy a loot box is the biggest oversight of the game. So,
fair enough. So, Subject of loot boxes, we could use this as a transition here to talk about Trials.
Trials Rising. Yes, go for it.
So, I've been playing a lot of Trials. I love Trials. Huge fan of Trials. Absolutely adore the series. What's better than a motorbike driving sideways as a platformer?
It has a good charm to it.
It does.
It's very simple. I really liked Trials of the Blood Dragon.
Yeah, that game was silly.
I really liked that game. That was super fun.
That game was very silly. But, dude, so there's loot boxes in this game, right? And I have friends who were going to get this game, and then they found out that it was Ubisoft, and there's a huge thing about Ubisoft, because Ubisoft's got a stigma. And then they found out there was loot boxes, and that's how I unlock all of your customizable stuff. But, let me pose you a question. If loot boxes are for customizable stuff, and not like, hey, you need to get this bike before you can continue, and you need to get the bike out of a loot box, which is a 1 in 1,000 chance, does that bother you?
Well, that second... holding up game progression through getting something in a loot box is unacceptable.
They don't do that, though. Like, the only thing you're getting out of loot boxes is like, hey, you got this jacket, you got this new helmet, you got a light for the bike.
So, here's what goes with that concept of all. Because I did play Trials Rising.
Well, did you play the beta, or did you play the actual game?
No, I played the actual game.
Okay. So, you know what I'm talking about, then. Cool.
I know exactly what you're talking about, and I have a couple Trials games, and I am a fan, and I was thinking about getting this. Here's why I'm not going to get it.
Go ahead.
I feel this Trials game is a bare bones attempt at what they could have done. It doesn't have it's missing a lot of the charm that the other ones do. Take Trials of the Blood Dragon. Tons of charm and character through that game. Whether it's through the menu system or the goofiness in levels. In Trials Rising, it just feels like I'm on a dirt bike and I'm going through a level.
Okay,
just to get a loot box.
Okay, now I see this having 2 reasons for that. Number 1, they're trying to sell loot boxes to get buy in-game currency, right? That's fine. It's Ubisoft. You want to buy in-game currency? Be my guest. Knock yourself out. Number 2, is this game an attempt at making Trials a bigger deal, as opposed to just the downloadable game you could get, like with Fusion and Evolution and HD and all that? Because the way that I'm looking at it, like, there's a bunch of multiplayer interaction in the game, but, like, something's missing. And it could be what you're saying, because they've removed the trick system, they've removed a few things. But at the same
they
time,
removed a lot of things, and this is what happens.
I was going to say, they've tried to make it a little bit more streamlined, maybe a little bit more accessible.
What's happening here, and this is what goes along with most games with loot boxes. I think Apex Legends is a diamond in the rough of it all. Like it's an exception to the rule. Trials Rising is a good example of you make a game and having the MTs and loot boxes within the game, you have now diminished the quality and the content in the game. Because even if you look at everything that you get from the loot boxes, very plain and uninteresting to me.
Yeah, it took his gear. It's fine.
I'm like, so, you've taken my motivation to even give a shit about cosmetics, right?
Mm-hmm.
B, you've diminished aspects of previous games out of this one for the sake of the loot boxes.
Talking about like the clothing and stuff, because you can just buy it in those games.
And this is a and C is I do agree that this is an attempt for Ubisoft to streamline this game. It's going with their live service model that they're going for, and Trials Rising is ticking a lot of those boxes.
Now, here's my counter argument with exactly what you've just said. Did you search the menus? Because there is a store in there where you can use the in-game currency that you get throughout the game to buy the cosmetics and the stuff for the bike, and they're at a reasonable price. You don't
but they're not interested in the first place.
I'm just
saying
I don't care about them. You don't have to go through the box to get them. You can just buy them like you could in the first couple of Trials games.
No, that's fine, but the cosmetics are boring and terrible.
That's the issue with the loot boxes.
And that's just comparing previous Trials games.
I'm just saying, man, like, I'm not defending Ubisoft. All I'm saying is the people who are whinging because they like, oh no, I can't get this set of tires out of the loot box. You can go into the menus in a sub-menu. There is a store, and you can use the in-game currency that you've earned throughout the game to just buy the wheels.
Yeah. Usually, when I see things like that, I look up like how much to grind for the in-game currency to get the cosmetics. I like Street Fighter V is like the example I always head back to, because the in-game currency grind was so horrible that you just couldn't buy anything in the store, right? You had to just buy it through money, because it was the time to earn was egregiously terrible, and I didn't even feel like doing that with Trials Rising, because the cosmetics were just, oh, here's a yellow shirt now. Oh, here's a red shirt. Oh, okay, whatever.
JD, did you get the flaming polo? I got the flaming polo. It's pretty nice.
I think I saw you stream that, and that was like... I know you streamed one. I saw you put up on YouTube, you streamed one opening 20 loot boxes in Trials Rising. I'm like...
I did that just for the sake of seeing how many
dick.
views to get. I did that for the sake of the views, and I don't know how many I got.
You clickbait dick.
It was funny, okay? I wanted to get on the fad.
It was kind of funny. I didn't click on the video. I just saw it pop up on my feed, and I'm like, oh my god.
It got 2 views. Look at me. I've been playing Disgaea 1. Disgaea's fun.
The first one's good. I like the first one.
Yeah,
so,
Disgaea 1 complete.
Apex Legends, I believe, has a 90 Metacritic rating. I think I forgot to mention that.
Can I have a guess here and say that Trials has probably a 74?
Well, I'm on Metacritic right now, and Trials Rising has an 80, just about.
No, I was off.
Yeah.
But people are obviously liking it. I'm enjoying it. It's a Trials game. It doesn't offend me as much as offending other people.
I'm not offended by it. I'm just like, wow, you just took away any reason I want to buy this game.
It's fine. I like it. It doesn't bother me.
It's less quality for it's less quality, less game, and you're paying the same price. Full price for a Trials game.
Well, you're only playing full price if you buy the gold edition. Otherwise, you just buy the standard and just probably for like $30,
that's
$20.
Ubisoft practice. That irritates me. The gold super edition, the complete edition, the super mega edition.
The gold thing that comes with the season pass, which should be stuff in the game from the start of it. Look at Assassin's Creed 2. We had to pay extra money to get the missing sequences.
Ugh, gross.
And that game came out before they even started getting in trouble for doing crappy business practices.
Right. Okay, so since you chose Trials and I chose Apex to start, I will pick to talk about Anthem. Get that fucker out of the way.
Okay, this game was bad. It is an EA game, and I don't like it. Let's move on.
So right now, it is carrying about a 60 to 65 score on Metacritic. There was a lot of hype. There was a lot of hype surrounding this game. It's BioWare, so it's the Mass Effect people. And you get a lot of the big Mass Effect vibes in the hub world. And if you want a lot more in-depth, I think I talked about the demo on the previous Modern Game episode.
The score's gone down on Metacritic, dude. It's now rocking at 57, and a user score of 4.2.
Oh. Well, it kind of deserves it. Honestly, this Anthem is really fucking boring.
So it's like Destiny in that regard when it first came out.
So it is for sure a Destiny clone. They're trying to copy everything Destiny. What it fails at is everything. Everything except one thing. And that is the flying. The flying in Anthem is super fun. You get in your Iron Man suit and you fly around this gorgeous looking world. But what do is the question. And really, it's just fetch quests, looking for boxes and shit. Fighting dumb as fucking shit AI that rivals Fallout 76's AI. And I'm not kidding with you.
Wait,
that.
Fallout 76 had AI? I thought that game was just like dropping people in a world.
Well, there you go. The story, which in the demo seemed interesting, like it seemed like there was interesting characters. Nah, that was all a lie, because as soon as you break through like your initial poke at it, it's just characters, just like Mass Effect Andromeda, where they're just talking at each other with a conversation, but the models and the faces aren't doing really anything.
Hey, Jay,
there is a couple.
Can I tell you a secret?
What's up?
This is where they get you. They make the demo interesting.
Well, they're supposed to make the demo interesting, but the demo I was still even very skeptical about it all. So when I started diving more into the hub world, it didn't crash as much as the demo, which was very nice.
But there was still a good place to start and make the game playable.
Yeah. But there was still a lot of bugs that were coming across. Enemies just spawning in and out of the map. That was frequent. Invisible enemies shooting at me. That was tons of fun. A bad map system. I mean, God. All the missions, I found every single mission super forgettable. You know when you play, whether it's a shooting game, a action game, take a Call of Duty game, for fuck's sake. When you're playing a story in that, you go, wow, I remember that helicopter mission. You remember that helicopter mission?
I remember the body armor mission where you get to like walk around as a
there you go.
tank.
There you go. In Anthem, not a single one. I was asking people that have played 30 plus hours of this. I was like, does any mission stand out? And they go, oh, I guess not. Because it all kind of runs together and it's very dull.
Yeah, right.
And apparently, the end game is insulting to the gamer. And
now,
I didn't get that far.
When you say insulting, do you mean insulting like the ending in Mass Effect 3, or do you mean insulting like...
As in, like, Battlefield 5, where content is just stripped out of the game for the sake of future DLC and raid type stuff?
Yeah, okay, that's a good example. I was struggling to come up with something. Yeah, that works.
Yeah, you could tell there was shit stripped out, and my favorite thing was someone. I went to the demo store, the game store, and a guy had played this about, oh God, what did he say? I want to say like 15 hours.
God, that's weird. Why is he playing such a bad game?
I could easily be. Well, he really liked a lot of aspects to what the game's concept was, and couldn't get over what I was saying was, but we're not doing anything, right? Well, he played about 15 hours of it, of the story missions, quote unquote, and then he was describing to me this wall he hit where, and I need to. I did look this up, and he was absolutely right. Where there's like 3 doors you need to open, and in order to open the door, you have to collect hundreds of items just to get into this door. And there's no like cutscene or epic moment. It's just you go into this like coffin, and you just press the X button and pick up the item, and it's like, okay, great, you got 2 more doors to open. It's like, oh my god, no way is that true. And sure shit that is. Supposedly that's being fixed. But you can't release games out like this, Jay.
Yeah.
You can't do this.
No, you can't. I expect to be able to play a game when it's launched.
So here's a question I'm posing at you.
Go ahead.
This was asked to me. I have my response, but I'm curious about your response. Sea of Thieves came out at launch as a bare bones nothing game.
Correct, but it was also free with Games with Gold, or whatever it was on Xbox.
Eventually.
I thought it was free at launch with Game Pass, whatever they use. But moving on.
Well, Game Pass, many games are free when you use your trial.
Moving on.
Later, there was a lot of content added, and the game is more open now. So, what do you say to the people that say, well, the game's going to get better later? They'll add more stuff. What do you say to that comment?
I say the game should be interesting enough for me to play it at launch and not have to come back in a month to actually play a game that works.
I agree. I agree with that statement, Jay. 100%. And here's even a business perspective of that, right? If you don't have content to keep your player engaged long enough to even give a shit for the next content to come out, then you failed. You're losing your player base, right? You're not gaining player base. You're losing them. So
you would be.
You remember how many people were so excited about, say, Sea of Thieves, and Anthem, for that matter? The game we're fucking talking about?
Mm-hmm.
How many people do you think stopped playing after a week?
I would have stopped playing after an hour, return the game. I've been known to do that before. I'll buy a game, play it for 3 hours, a piece of crap, and take it back. Which is exactly what I did for one of the other games on this list, which we'll get to eventually.
Alright. So, needless to say, Anthem had a horrible launch. It's a buggy as shit game. I found it just boring. Like, nothing about it was interesting except the flying. And that's not enough to play. And for a live service game, that's just unacceptable.
Fair enough. Yeah. No, I completely agree.
So it's your turn to pick the game off the list here.
So, dude, I'm going to tell you my story about my purchase of a game known as Jump Force.
Okay.
I bought the game. So far,
I told
first
you not
step
to.
has been completed. Took the game home. Played it for about an hour, 2 hours. Realized there was nothing to sustain my interest in the game. I thought it was going to be decent, make Ichigo fight Goku, which I could have done in Jump friggin' J-Stars Victory Rush Plus, because I already have that game. By the way, that game's better than this one. So I got very bored very quickly because they don't explain a goddamn thing to you. And then, I took it back, full release game, and I walked out with a copy of Disgaea 1 Complete Edition, Resident Evil 7 for the Xbox One, a disc copy of Yakuza 0 because I didn't have it, Shadow of War, and something else, but I can't remember what it was off the top of my head right now. Oh, Dead Rising 4. There we go. That's my experience with Jump Force. And that's my review.
I didn't play this game very long. It was basically exactly what I was worried about, where it was a weak attempt at just putting shonen characters in a fighting game.
Look,
and I have
it's the
J-Stars.
Shonen Jump 90th anniversary, 80th, I don't freaking remember what it was, but Jump Stars
50th,
J Victory vs. Plus is just a better game than this.
It is a better game, and that's not saying much because J-Stars has a lot of faults as
Dude,
well.
from the start of that game, though, I can make friggin' Luffy fight Goku. I don't have to bloody go through some Xenoverse-esque crappy attempt of making the game into a livable world to unlock Goku and Luffy.
that was a major misstep in Jump Force altogether. It's supposed to be a fun fighting game, and it just doesn't come across that.
Here. Let me tell you the opening cutscene and the opening fight. Are you ready? So you're walking through what I'm pretty sure is New York in first person. And then you see Frieza appear, who essentially blows up friggin' that area of New York. And then you get revived by Trunks, and you get told, hey, are you a pirate, a human, or a ninja? Bam, there's your fighting style. Okay? You with me so far?
Just, it's along the lines of J-Stars in a way. I press
square and triangle to punch and kick, circle or whatever it was to block, and at this point I have no super attacks, right? Cool. Mm-hmm. So, then after you do that fight, you get recruited by Luffy, Goku, and Naruto, who are the leaders of some stupid rebellion or whatever the hell's going on. Taken into the hub world.
They're part of the Jump Force.
True. Taken into the hub world where you meet a bunch of other characters. You get told the Goku's over here, Naruto's over here, Luffy's here, figure it out, we've got your money.
The forcing the story upon the gamer, because I guarantee this wasn't why people wanted to play a game like Jump Force.
I wanted to play it to make Goku fight Luffy.
Yeah, well, J-Stars exists.
It does, and it's a better game than this. So guys, if you want to buy Jump Force, don't buy Jump Force. Buy J-Stars Victory vs. Plus, and then on top of that, Resident Evil 7, Shadow of War, Dead Rising 4, Yakuza 0, and Disgaea 1 Complete Edition for the same price.
I liked what you said about it's Dragon Ball Xenoverse, but less interesting.
It pretty much is.
Yeah. It's running about a 57 on Metacritic right now, so...
man, it's doing better than Anthem. Or is it doing the same as Anthem? I don't freaking remember.
It's doing the same.
That just goes to show that the game's not good, and I was all excited for this. I love anime, as you know. I'm a shonen whore, but this game, it's not good. Like, I love Dragon Ball Z fighting games. I love Naruto fighting games. I'm a huge fan of the Ultimate Ninja Storm games.
I got a couple myself, yeah.
But this game, it's a poor attempt at making something that should be fun, and it's just bland and uninteresting.
Yeah, yeah. I do. I also like what you're saying, where you just hit basically square and triangle over and over again.
Yeah. Oh, dude, did you know, by the way, the pirates do very powerful and wide punching attacks.
Character models are really awful in the game as well.
They are. Yeah. I made a ninja character who had like 1 or 2 fights. I'm like, I'm done here.
That was brutal. All right, let's get this out of the way. Metro Exodus.
Now
is the next game.
I've played Metro 2099. I understand why people like it. Metro is not my kind of game.
Metro is interesting. This is the third in the series, presumably the conclusion of the series and story. You are in a post-apocalyptic Russia, essentially, and everything's like radioactive and shit. And
there's vodka because it's Russia.
And it's Russia, a lot of Russian accents, a lot of communism references, and oh my god, comrade, and you're in search of a new civilization to live on land, even though I believe the previous couple Metros said, like, this is the only civilization, this one area.
Well, but maybe that's one of those rumors that go around where it's like, hey, there's a safe haven in New York in a zombie apocalypse, and you go there and there's nothing there, and then, like, you turn a corner and end up in, I friggin' know what else is in New York, and bam, there's a safe haven.
Yeah. So anyways, the story's not Metro's strong part, even though it pretends it is.
Yeah, pretty much. The game's very preachy when it comes to the story.
Yeah. So, I will say this. Exodus is... Oh, it's so good looking.
Yeah, but just because a game looks good doesn't make it a good game.
Oh, it looks real good. It brings the most out of current gen consoles. It's real good. It plays well enough. I mean, it's a first person shooter. It's very slow. It's not fast paced at all. It's very slow on how you traverse areas. It takes you around. It wants to tell its story, which is fine. It's fine. I've played games like that before. Where it loses me is how long it takes in between everything. So there was a lot of... I think I played this for like 5-6 hours. So I wasn't totally uninterested in it. But, again, where it loses me was in between point A and point B. There's just so long of a trek to go to these places. And you're not doing anything. You're just, like, taking in the environment. And I go, okay, at first it was fine, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, first... take Breath of the Wild as an example, where you get out and you have nothing, you can go anywhere, and you're just looking at the surroundings. You know, a similar concept. But Exodus does it in a more... It felt more linear to me. So I was just being forced along this path, and it just took forever to go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Did the previous Metro games do that as well? I don't remember them doing that.
Dude, it's been so long since I played 2099, and I don't remember.
You played Last of Us, right? Correct?
I love Last of Us.
Okay. So, similar concept in Last of Us with the crafting elements, and crafting in Metro Exodus drove me insane. I hated it. I don't know why it needed to be there. It felt forced and annoying. So I'm like, oh, look, gears and then bandages. Great. They make everything in the world.
Hey,
it's
dude,
such
look,
a forced mechanic.
There's a brick here. I'm just going to use that instead.
Well,
Why
do you think these modern games need to have crafting in all their games?
I don't know, but before I get to that, I have a very quick question for you, and it's very important, and it's going to determine our friendship. Were you a brick person or a bottle person from Last of Us?
Ooh. I guess a bottle, because it was distracting everything more.
Good. Also, if you think about it, man, you're shattering a glass bottle, and that thing's going to cause collateral damage at some point down the future.
I suppose.
Good to hear. But yeah, you're right. Like, just tacked-on crafting systems has become a huge thing in games recently, and it doesn't seem like it's going anywhere.
No, and Metro Exodus is a good example of that. What they do with that. The other thing that loses me is, at first, the creatures take Last of Us in introducing the clickers, right? Real creepy sounds everywhere. You see them, you're scared, little jump scares, what have you. Great, right?
Mm-hmm.
Metro Exodus started out with introducing, the subhuman creatures quite well. Jump scare, sounds everywhere. I was like, this is cool. Maybe I'll like a Metro game. For once. Wow. Then it does the rinse and repeat formula. It stopped with the jump scares. The enemies became samey. The AI didn't flow very well. It wasn't dumb like Anthem's AI, but they felt like bullet sponges at times, where they would just go out into the open and take it until they died.
Yeah, I get that.
And the audio was real fucked up in the game.
In what way?
Real fucked up. So, there's a lot of dialogue. Here's just one example. There's a lot of dialogue in the game, right? And there's a lot of instances where characters are talking over each other and trying to tell this plot going on. And you're like, oh my god. So there's, if you have subtitles on, forget it. So you have to focus in on hearing one thing, if you can do that. Really odd.
So there was a lot of people constantly talking over the top of each other.
Yeah, radios talking over everything, a whole bunch of stuff like that. So and then audio missing in sections.
A way of describing it then would be like there's a lot of noise pollution. For the sake of noise pollution.
There's a lot of that in the game, and the audio was just off in general as well. Like you would see things exploding, but you wouldn't hear them. that happened a lot.
So, is that because it was out of sync, or you just couldn't say where the explosion was?
No, you could see the explosion, right in front of you.
But then,
there was no
a few
sound
seconds
from
later, the boom.
No, there'd be no boom.
That's really freaking weird. That's
you would just see it happen.
That's really weird. I expect a kaboom if I throw a grenade.
No, so that happened quite frequently. And pre-rendered cutscenes too, or not pre-rendered. In cutscenes too, that happened quite a lot as well.
Why? It sounds like the game's broken.
The audio certainly is.
Fix it.
So it was really good in sections, right, with introducing the creatures, and then everything else wasn't good. It was really odd. I can't think of a game I experienced something like that. Not recently, that's for sure. So, if you want a story first-person shooter, there's better ones out there. If you're really into Metro, well, then you're already getting the game. Right?
If you want to jump onto Metro, it's probably not the best starting point. It
is not a good starting point. I just don't recommend this game. It's just real slow. I just lost interest real fast with it. Even though I did end up playing it 5-6 hours, I lost interest well before that. I just kind of hung out and played it with a couple friends. But yeah, we all had the same thought. We're like, are we enjoying this anymore? No. Looks good at least.
I mean,
I think it's getting about an 80 on about an 80 on Metacritic, and I can't imagine that's what the company wanted. Not with how good this game looks.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Look, it's not my kind of game. I've tried playing it before. I'm just not huge on the Metro series. I get why people like them, but it's not my cup of tea.
Yeah, 81 on Metacritic. That's about the score.
Go. Let's move from an 81 to a 60. Just a flat 60 with the finally released Crackdown 3.
Oh boy.
And wouldn't you know it, dude, I'm going to read one of the reviews on the site from DarkStation. In the end, Crackdown 3 isn't a bad game. It's just fine.
Ugh.
Look,
do you think if this game came out like 10 years ago, it would be good?
Look, let's be honest here. We bought Crackdown 1 to play the demo of Halo 3, correct?
Yeah, well, I guess you did.
Well, I'm just saying. And then we bought Crackdown 2 because Crackdown 1 was actually a decent game. Right? You with me so far?
Mm-hmm. I'm with you so far. I hear you. I'm hearing you.
All of the bloody problems with Crackdown 3 and all the things behind the scenes and everything that's gone wrong on top of the everything in the world supposed to be destroyable, it's a damn shame to see that the final Crackdown game they're probably ever going to make is just fine.
I don't know. When I see a 60 on Metacritic, that is a failure. Especially for a console exclusive.
Xbox this generation haven't really been doing all that well, have they?
Oh, awful.
No, I can't
think of a single exclusive off the top of my head that I enjoyed from the Xbox One.
I will say I can think of a couple off the top of my head that I've enjoyed for the Xbox One. One of them being one of the reasons I bought the Xbox One with Forza Horizon series, as well as the Gears series. I'm a huge Gears mark. I love that franchise. I loved Gears 4. I want Gears 5 to come out. Like, as soon as it does, I'll be all over that. Like, but with everything else ever released, like, they're just not doing games well.
It's been flop after flop for a good 2 years now.
Yeah, like, dude, I was huge on Halo. And I haven't even played Halo 5 Guardians yet because, like, apparently it's bad.
Not a good sign.
Apparently, Halo 5 is just, it's fine. And that's like a lot of things that come out on Xbox. It's just fine. The only things that they're getting like any friggin' good games with is like multi-platform stuff. And it looks better on the Xbox compared to the PlayStation in certain people's opinions.
I really liked, I forget who said this. It was definitely said to me multiple times from different people. But I say if this game came out like 10 years ago, it'd be good. The concept of Crackdown 3, just nothing clicks. It just feels, you know how I said bare bones? That's what this feels like.
Yeah. Yeah, like as I said with that review, it's just fine.
It's a weak environment, a weak story, weak AI, weak weaponry systems and upgrades, and weak missions. It's just everything about it seems like it came out 10 years ago, and then there's no polish behind the game either, because it's really buggy and broken in a lot of areas.
When did Crackdown 2 come out? Do you remember?
I'll look it up.
I'll look it up. No, you keep talking, I'll look it up.
Crackdown 2...
It came out
2010. There you go.
Damn it,
that's
you
almost
just
10 years
beat me to
ago.
it. And Crackdown 1 came out in 2007, so 3 years gap here. So 9 years is a long time to be waiting on a sequel. Is at this point, like, you're entering Duke Nukem Forever territory, and it's just not going to live up to your expectations no matter what they do.
Well, it wasn't even the fact that Crackdown 3 didn't live up to expectations. The expectations were kind of disappearing. Everyone's like, well, it's going to come out, kind of idea. And then when it did, people kind of looked at it from the side and just went not into it.
I'll play it when
on
it goes
top
free
of the
on
fact
Games
that
with Gold.
it's a bad game. I think it's a bad game, Jay. I really do.
Like I said, I'll play it when it goes free with Games with Gold.
I guess you can't argue with free.
I'm not paying for Games Pass, so I mean, if it's free, I'll play it.
I just really can't recommend this game at all. Like, the driving was baffling. How they wasn't able to get driving, which is a big factor in the game for a lot of it, because the map is big, right?
Just like to say,
and you're in a sandbox.
The Grand Tour has fixed its driving, and now it's actually a playable game.
That's pretty funny. Crackdown 3 is just skip it.
Would
Skip
Crackdown 3 be fun with a grappling hook? The answer is still probably a no, because Just Cause is no longer fun, even though it's got a grappling hook.
At least Just Cause had some polish to it.
It did, but I'm still of the mindset that the best Just Cause game is Just Cause 2.
Yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right. But you know what? That's a good comparison, because you have Just Cause 4, and then you have Crackdown 3. Both are very by-the-book, open-world sandbox games, where you just do random shit in it, seemingly, right?
Yeah.
And cause mayhem.
Yeah,
however, Just Cause 4 fucking worked.
Well,
and there was some sort of story behind it, I guess.
Just because Just Cause 4 did what Just Cause 3 did doesn't mean it was a fun game to play. I played it for a few hours, and it was fine. It was fine, JD. It was fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a game.
It worked,
but
then with
you
that
weren't
regard as well,
interested in it.
Crackdown works as well, sort of.
I'm looking at your Dark Station review that you said, and it said Crackdown 3 feels stuck in 2005.
Yeah, it did. I didn't read that part, but it's just fine, JD. It's just fine. It's just fine.
Alrighty. So our last game we're going to talk about here,
the sleeper hit of the month, if you will.
The sleeper hit of the month, the second highest rated game of February after Apex Legends. It has an 87. It is called Wargroove.
Now, dude, I want you to paint this game to me in a pretty picture and convince me to buy it on the Switch.
All right. Well, it comes from the makers of Stardew Valley, Chucklefish.
I'm already in. Let's go.
Yeah. It's only about $20 USD, so it's very affordable. It's a spin on. Have you ever played Advanced Wars from the Game Boy Advance era?
No, but no.
Okay, so it's tactical turn-based strategy game.
Okay,
right?
So turn-based strategy like Disgaea, like Fire Emblem?
Yes.
Okay, so far so good.
That is exactly correct. What this does, you're not playing it for the story. You're playing it for the strategy element to it, and you're put on maps, and you're figuring stuff out. So it's not the story is exactly what you would think a turn-based strategy one is. You're a ruler of a kingdom. evil enemy comes, kind of kicks you out, and you have to
sign up with the rebels and make friends along the way and destroy the evil.
You make friends along the way and to fight the big bad, and there might be a weapon that the person wants, and that's exactly what Wargroove's story is.
So it was like your typical Fire Emblem game. Like a really good example would be Fire Emblem Conquest. Was it Conquest? I think it was Conquest.
Well, all the Fire Emblem games are like that.
I mean, it's completely, in that regard, opposite to Disgaea, because you're playing as a bad guy in Disgaea.
Well, the devil, right?
Yeah,
or
essentially.
The devil's helper. Yeah. Or the devil's son. Devil's son.
Well, they don't really call him that. Like it's hinted, but it's not really called that. Moving on.
Yeah. So Wargroove, where it shines is in its addiction loop. And its extra content, actually. It has... so I'll start with that. It has a puzzle element to it where it puts you on a map and you have to defeat all the enemies on the map in a single turn. So there's cool, and you have different challenges for that. And then you have an arcade mode, where you're a character and it sets forth challenges with that character on various maps.
So, like, this dude needs to do this move 7 times.
Oh, yeah, something like that.
This guy needs to kill this amount of this particular enemy. This guy needs to do this.
Yeah, that's kind of what arcade mode basically is. You have the gist of it. And then you have story mode where you can... you go through the story. There's side missions in the story for the characters you meet along the way, which are neat, and they're actually harder than the main mission games. So what is the core mechanic of it? What separates this from other turn-based strategy games? Fire Emblem has, the waifu extraordinaire, the husbando thing going on with the anime fans.
It's a dating sim.
The dating sim elements to it all, the permadeath. Advance Wars was tactical with terrain and weaponry and all that.
Well, it's only permadeath if you're not a bitch.
Well, if you're not a bitch, right. Well, the original games, you couldn't turn it off.
Yeah, I'm a bitch.
Advance Wars. Wargroove, its mechanic is you have a leader per mission, right?
If the leader dies, it's a game over?
Well, yes. If the leader dies, it's game over, or your main stronghold falls down by the enemy. Those are your 2 ways that you can lose the mission, right?
So what's ideally stopping you then from setting up a choke point and waiting for them to come to you?
Well, I mean, that's a strategy. There's various maps that, there are bridges or mountains, and you can lure enemies to choke points. It's all part of the strategy. Well, you have your stronghold, and you have your main commander, and you usually start off each mission with like a foot soldier or 2, and there's various foot soldiers. You have a swordsman, a spearman, archer. Eventually, you get a mage, a couple flight people, air units. So that's all related to kind of the Advanced Wars aspect of it. But
so do they have the same sort of rock, paper, scissors mentality like they do in Fire Emblem? So like sword's better than axe is better than spear?
No, it's a little bit more complicated than that. So like your pikemen are vulnerable to multiple types of enemies, but they're also strong against multiple types of enemies. So you have to take that into account with a lot of your soldiers, right? And the way you get more soldiers on a map is you capture village homes and barracks. So village homes will earn you currency, along with capturing a barrack. And capturing a barrack, you can summon a new enemy using the currency you earn during that round, right? So let's say you have 5. You've captured 5 village or 4 villages and a barrack, and then you have your stronghold, which is worth 500 per turn. So that amounts to 1,000 gold per turn. So depending on how strong your soldier you want to summon requires X amount of currency. So a swordsman costs 100 gold to summon, and you can only summon 1 character per turn at a barrack. So it encourages you to try and take over multiple barracks, so you can summon more than 1 soldier per turn. kind of deal. It's really interesting. Following me?
So far, so good.
Okay. And that's basically how the game goes. You get different types of missions. Every map is different for every single mission. That's interesting. So when you're on the overworld map, it shows you a terrain, so you know what type of terrain it is. You take advantage of the terrain. That'll increase your defense or decrease it depending on the soldier you have in an area. I can't really say anything bad about the game other than the story is just average. It's your typical turn-based strategy story.
Yeah, but like once you've seen one of them, you've seen them all, and you're kind of just playing it because you like the gameplay.
And that's why you're playing Wargroove, is the gameplay. It's that addicting and really good. Now, if you're not into turn-based strategy games, obviously this game isn't going to be for you. If you're looking into getting into turn-based strategy games, this one might come across as really tough. Because I'm having a tough time with it near the end game. And you can tell that the developers thought in a certain way different strategies on how a lot of people would go about it and get careless. So
they've set up like countermeasures to, if you do what the developers think you're going to do, you fall into their trap and you get destroyed.
Correct. And I have come across that multiple times on multiple missions.
Damn it, stop playing so blatantly obvious.
Well, it makes you think around the box. My one complaint is the game is very tedious. So it plays real slow. Much slower than a lot of other turn-based strategy games. Because whether it's not skipping cutscenes quick enough, so you have to like hold buttons down to do it. You can't. It's only like small, really super small avatars of what everything's vulnerable to or effective against. You have to be like, is that a pikeman or an archer? I can't really tell. You can't.
Can you not like hover over them and it'll tell you? Or?
No, you can't. That's
annoying.
So a lot of little tiny quality of life things just kind of add up, and you're like, okay, I wish these things were in the game, but they're not.
So because of that, it adds that extra element where if you're not quite paying attention, you could cost yourself a few units.
Exactly, yeah. There's a lot of like dumb moves that you just you're trying to like go through everything quick, or you forget this enemy is vulnerable to this, but you haven't seen him in like 7 missions.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah. But the game is very addicting. It's very solid. It's well made in what it's meant to be. So I recommend this one. To me, it's my favorite game of February easily over Apex Legends, but the masses will say Apex Legends was the best of the month.
To me, my favorite game of February was definitely Yakuza Kiwami 2.
Well, that doesn't count.
Alright, fine. Resident Evil 7? No, it doesn't count either. Alright, let's be honest here. I've really only played friggin' Trials, so I guess I'm going to have to go with that. But I may end up checking out Wargroove because it does interest me. I just haven't had the money to pick it up.
Well, play more Disgaea, and if you like go through that, get better at a turn-based strategy, because Wargroove doesn't hold your hand. That's where new players would definitely have an issue with it.
Yeah, but like I've played Fire Emblem games, I've played whatnot. You calling me bad at these games?
This is much harder than Fire. This is much harder than Fire Emblem.
I mean, to be fair, I almost died on level 3 of friggin' Disgaea, so I probably am bad at the game. So
you can die on level 1 in Wargroove. Like, I'm not kidding.
I mean, is Disgaea hard in your opinion if you're not paying attention? Because that's kind of my problem with these games.
Not really.
Yeah, okay, so I just suck at these games. Alright, let's move on.
Well, those were all the games from February. Games that we missed that are probably being saved for a future episode with not a lot of game releases. And I've noticed this. A game called Devotion, which came out on PC. So we'll get to that at some point in the year. Yokai Watch 3.
Yeah. I want to get that
apparently
game.
That's
I'm having so much
doing
difficulty
much better.
tracking it down.
Yeah, I haven't seen it much either. I'm very curious because I enjoyed the first one. The second one just didn't do it for me.
Dude, are you gonna go tempura or shrimp?
Tempura.
Yeah, I was thinking tempura too, but it looks like the release that they did for that game is only the one version, so I'm not sure if we got tempura and shrimp in this one. Also, we're in America, dude. JD, we're in America.
Ooh. And then Ape Out, which came out on the Switch. Apparently that's a rhythm game or something. It's getting pretty good reviews as well. So I've got those written down and saved for a rainy day month.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So next month, I got some. Next month is obviously the March one because we're in March now. We got games listed for Division 2, Devil May Cry 5, Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. I'm 100% getting that game.
What's that?
Toe Jam and Earl. That is from the Bloodborne and Dark Souls people.
Okay, I'm with you.
Yeah. Toe Jam and Earl Back in the Groove. I believe it's basically a remake of the first one that came out in the Genesis. Haven't gotten a chance to play it yet. I've seen videos of it. It looks the same.
You're a Sega horse.
Yoshi's Crafted World and Beat Cop, an indie game.
Also, there's a remake / re-release of Assassin's Creed 3.
Yeah, we don't care about that.
Well, I'm just saying.
It's not a remake. It's just a remastered port.
I'm just saying that it's coming out because Kiwami and Kiwami 2 are remakes, but you're counting them differently. Just saying that maybe there's people out there that want to go back and play Assassin's Creed 3. Maybe they want to go after Charles Lee. Maybe I'm one of those people, okay?
Okay, alright.
But man, I'm really excited for Yoshi's friggin' new game because I love Yoshi games.
They're very chill.
Yeah,
they're very
chill. Just put it on and just sit back and make Yoshi eat things that he probably shouldn't eat.
Absolutely. Well, alright, Jay. Why don't you send us out? Sure
thing. So you can follow... Wait, how do I do the intro here? I'm not actually 100% sure. Let's just edit this part out. So what do I do for the outro?
You are listening to...
Okay, no, I thought you were going to do the whole Twitter thing, but alright, so we're cutting this out, right?
No, absolutely not. This is too good. Well, if you want to follow everyone, Viva La JD, Bowling JD, hashtag Red Leaf Retrocast.
Alright, and you have been listening to the Red Leaf Retrocast Modern Gaming Podcast.
Yay. Join us next month.